Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday the 10th of February. So, hope you all had a great weekend and looking forward to a good trading week. Well, let's hope so. Anyway, let's get kicking off and looking at some of these markets. First things first, news-wise, not a great deal today, just had a look through this. We do have Lagarde speaking today. In fact, it's tomorrow. We've got a few speakers there as well. But Lagarde speaking this afternoon. Don't expect too much from that in real terms. Mostly been said probably. Okay, let's get on and look at the markets. Euro dollar. Euro dollar largely on a daily basis now, still in its. I'm starting to look to swap and draw across the line here, but technically it broke that level and hasn't put a lower high in yet. A lower low in. We need these lows taken out. Has put a lower high in on the nearer term at the end of last week, and is looking a bit shabby again here. I was just looking at this bar here. It's a 4-hourly bar, so it really needs to finish at 10 o'clock. But a break low of that from the shape it's doing could well see further downside. We did have the gap down. That's pretty much being filled. It's a bit messy on this lower time frame because I'm on a 15. That's probably why. There we go. Let's put it on an hourly. That looks better. Anyway, we did have that gap filled, but we still got the daily pivot above it. It's air kissed the S1. Often if it's hit the S1, it's less likely to hit the daily pivot, quite significantly less likely to hit it if it hits the S1 early on, and it suggests further downside. How it's shaping at the moment, I would rather be on the downside of this market at this stage, but I need to let this hour sort itself out, and perhaps a good part of the next hour. But it's certainly looking soft there. The pound is quite similar. It's had a little bit more of a. It's still, well, actually, I'm saying that it's actually got a higher low there. We can bin that trend line because it got broken. Whoops. Yeah, remove them. That's it. We'll move that and we'll pop a line across the lows here, because roughly that's the trend we're currently in. We put higher lows in, and it's that little bit more bullish. Now, it's not necessarily where I want it to be, in the sense of if the euro's bearish and this is bullish, it's conflicting signals, and I like them to be working together largely. However, this could roll back. It just didn't move quite as badly last week. At the end of the week, it did come off. We've seen the gap filled. This is more likely for one that I would look at its reaction to its daily pivot here. It's got its 50 MA, 34 MA all wrapped up around that area. Be quite nice if it runs into that area and reacts, and then I would look potentially at the short side. Well, I say potentially. If it all sets up, I will be looking to short it. US dollar yen. The yen has been coming off. Well, I say the yen's been coming off. The dollar's been coming off against the yen. Last week, most of the week, we saw a pretty decent correction there, and that was only really a continuation of the previous moves. It didn't have the same chunky gaps in it as some of the other markets. It hasn't gapped so much. Its new weekly pivot is up here, and that would be a nice point to short from if it gets there. A little bit in the midst of nowhere at this stage. So there's a quarterly pivot up there as well, so that looks quite a nice area. We might get some reaction. That's failed into that quarterly pivot previously, and it's rolled over. Let's see if we can get something similar again, although the more it knocks on the door, the more likely it is to run through. So we would need to see a proper reaction off of the quarterly pivot. Anyway, that's the US dollar yen at this stage. Aussie dollar. Okay, Aussie dollar caught the bounce here. It's a bit messy actually. I need to come back to look at it on a daily basis. It's not quite strong. The pound has been slightly stronger, having taken out the previous high here, and putting a higher low in. This is not quite the same. It's that gap down there last week really affected it and took out the previous lows, made it weaker. It's a bit more like the euro in that respect. Looking at it at the moment from the shorter time frame, it looks like it's just going to roll over, but a lot happens in the next 30 minutes or hour. Things could change, but it looks a little bit stronger on this basis. It's filled the gap, but more tariffs mentioned by Trump could affect, as a commodity currency, could well affect it eventually. Crikey, what on earth is this mess? This is a 4-hourly chart of something. US dollar CAD. Now we lost the data that was before it. It's made it look a real mess on the 4-hourlies. We should be perhaps looking at a continued breakdown with the dollar softening slightly, but I'm not overly convinced. And the more pressure I was reading this morning on side of the tariffs, etc., there's more inflation, etc., coming through the markets, and it really puts to it shows that the US Feds will not be cutting rates anytime soon by the looks of things, or much less likely. And on that basis, it keeps the strength in the US dollar against something like the Canadian dollar, where they're cutting rates quite significantly, and we could see it as a nice safe carry. Anyway, just looking at the markets at the moment, looking soft, and yeah, just looking quite ugly there at the moment. US dollar CAD probably best avoided at the moment. New Zealand dollar, very much like the Aussie dollar, really. It's probably not worth doing anything different, although it is showing that just that little bit more weakness on the lower time frame here on the hourlies. We'll see what happens with that, but it does look just he's put a lower high in. That's a confirmed lower high and came in on Friday. He's just looking soft. The weekly pivot being below there could be a reasonable target for it. So that does look soft. So that might be one of the favourites. I quite like the euro, but the New Zealand looking quite neat as well. Dollar Swissy dollar still stronger than the Swissy here, pushing up again. It's sort of recovered from last week here. A correction into the weekly pivot here would be quite nice for further upside potentially. It's hit the S1. It might, if it doesn't get to that weekly and breaks the S1, well, the S2 becomes the next obvious target with a high probability of being hit today. Just need to see what it's doing first. Lots of things happen just after 8 o'clock, and it's worth letting these markets just settle themselves. You can see on the yen, it's in this huge range here on the dailies. And it's near the lows of that range. Are we finally going to start seeing it break down some more? Best place would be to selling it into the weekly pivot. If it gets back up there, that for me would be perfect. We'll see what happens. It's below its quarterly S1 now. It's certainly looking soft. Short term time frame, yeah, just let it come up a little bit more. It went in the afternoon last week on the non-farms. It rolled over and went really well. Look, thereafter 2 o'clock onwards, broke down, ran a long way, gapped a little bit this morning, looking soft. So again, there's a few here. I'm just looking for them to get probably back to their weekly pivots or have the reaction to their weekly pivots and see. Particularly, and this is such nice trend that's sitting here. Okay, other cross pairs coming to my normal choice. Euro CAD, it's gone really. It came off on Friday really well, but the CAD's near support. against the dollar, and where is it going to find support? Near the euro as well. Short term, maybe if it starts rolling back from where it is here, the pivot. If it's going up too much, I'll just stand aside and leave it for now. But it's quite flat for most last week. Friday came in quite well for it, and that could continue its southbound journey. Probably just need to wait a little bit. There's a weekly pivot above, which could be a draw as well, so you've got to just watch that. We need to see a reaction this morning first. Okay, that's mainly it there on the currencies. Let's just have a quick look at the usual suspects. Gold, it's up 1.2% into new highs this morning. People spend all this time shorting it, and look at it going. It's really been favoured. I've said before, the Bank of China and the Reserve the People's National Bank of China, whatever it's called, they've been buying. Apparently, they've increased their holdings over time. It's just looking quite a solid buy, but it's not from here. We do need these retracements to be buying into, and even you just look at it on this lower this hourly time frame, it can be quite spiky, and it's not just moving $1 or $2, it's moving $30. That's some huge old chunky movements there. It will take people out left, right and centre. Get a bit bearish because you see a bit of an iffy day coming through, and then bang, off it goes again, takes out the highs. Oil's up a bit this morning, 0.5% up this morning, but bigger scheme of things, well, it's under pressure to the downside, I'd say, more than anything else. Hasn't quite got, it got down to quite close to, I was looking at a target around about the $70. It's not far off it. Unfortunately, I was looking for the target, but I'm not in the trade. I could get back into it this afternoon, or into a trade, but it certainly wouldn't be for looking for the bigger moves I was previously looking at. But we'll see how it shapes up this morning. Might be something in there later. Okay, equity markets all up slightly at the moment for the day. Don't get carried away on that. The S&P's got really quite ugly. I think the more comments that come out there regarding inflation and high inflation, etc., is quite detrimental to the equity markets. That doesn't mean to say I'd short them. They're in such a mess, and there's always this upside potential surges, or there are these surges. Yes, we could be looking at. We saw on Friday it ran into its R1 there, quarterly R1. And reacted again. It's been into that a few times, so we could get another reaction to that, but it's more shaped. Well, saying that, it's a bit mixed there. It's bounced off its weekly to come up to its daily, so it's daily sitting there. If it starts breaking back above there, well, that takes the bullish case further. Maybe a roll back this morning. I mean, it's up all that percentage, but it's up from gapping. But we'll see how it works out there. Probably something best traded this afternoon. UK markets here up 0.3% today, but on an hourly basis, really not doing too much. We saw last week it running into its new all-time highs again. Like most of the equity markets they're all up around there. It's looking reasonably bullish still. Bit of a bull flaggy pattern kicking in here. Quite flat as we look at it at the moment. Okay, DAX up 0.4 this morning at the moment. Well done, Ian, but I'd never touch with a barge pole, but each to their own. It did have a good move on Friday to the downside there. A bit of a correction. It's looking though at the moment like it's back to the highs. Okay. Right. that's pretty much me got done through here for now. So opportunities possibly lay with the likes of euro, watching more from a 4-hourly point of view how we end up here. This looks still quite bearish to me. It might mean I need to wait until after 10 p.m. today. I like the US dollar. Was it US dollar? It wasn't US dollar yet. Well, yes, if that comes back up, it could be a potential sell point there somewhere. But the New Zealand dollar, it might be already reacting. I don't want to jump in it too quickly. I just really don't trust the first 10-15 minutes after 8 o'clock. So we'll see what happens, but that could be coming off more. Okay, I shall leave you there and catch you in the morning. Take care, YouTubers. See you tomorrow.